saw you are poached.
Yes, let me say that. I was poached by Pesapal. So I met the executive director at the time, and he did actively pursue to hire me, and I met him, and our visions aligned immediately, because you see, what I was doing at Direct Pay Online, I was a salesperson. I had numbers, right? I had to just go bring in numbers, make sure I hit those targets. I was hitting my targets.
Welcome back to another episode of our Soyangu Show, where we tell you African business stories. And today we're with Sharon Tum, that is the lead general manager of Yellow Card. Karibu sana to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
We want to talk about your journey, especially in the fintech industry. And I understand that you've been in this space for a while now. Started working with companies like M-Pesa, that is back in the days.
Yeah, correct.
And for the moment you are at Yellow Card.
Yes.
So first of all, how is your job at Yellow Card? How is it like?
Oh, wow. I can say it's varied. We have our ups and downs as a company, and my role has different aspects in it. We do a bit of everything as a regional manager. You must understand a bit of sales, you must understand a bit of product, a bit of accounting, a bit of customer service. Basically, you're like a mini CEO of the company on this region in East Africa.
In East Africa?
Yes, correct.
So when did you get started as a regional manager in East Africa? And were you the first regional manager for the Yellow Card? That is when they got in East Africa.
Yes. So yes, I was. So I was hired as a regional manager East Africa back in 2021. The company was still fairly young. We were just around 50 employees at the time. And since then, we've grown to over 220 employees today. So yeah, I did join in as a regional manager with some tasks in the country manager level as well, because I was handling Kenya operations at the time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I know there might be some people who are watching this show and maybe they don't know what Yellow Card is. So as the regional manager, how can you describe your company or the company, or how can you pitch Yellow Card?
Okay, so if you haven't heard about Yellow Card, we are a fintech company. We are in the financial space, and we specialize in blockchain technologies and others. However, we currently also looking to broaden our product more deep into the fintech stuff. But one of our biggest products that most people do know about is the digital asset exchange, whereby a customer like yourself is able to come to Yellow Card and buy and sell digital assets. And we also have other products like Yellow Pay. So Yellow Pay is peer-to-peer payment, whereby you're able to transfer payment within the countries that we currently operate in, which is more than 22 countries, instantly for anyone who has a Yellow Pay wallet. Yeah.
So most of the people who watched this show, like let's say 50% of them are developers.
Yes.
And people who are interested in tech.
Yes.
We will talk about later, when you are hiring a developer at Yellow Card, what do you look at, and of course other loans. But let's go back to your career journey.
Yes.
So when you started out at M-Pesa, how was it like, and what role were you handling?
Okay, so M-Pesa, I started as a trade development representative, which is basically a fancy way of saying a sales executive for M-Pesa services. So I was the trade representative for Nairobi CBD market. That's where I started from. It was a very interesting journey because I feel like that's where I learned to hustle. I really had to do all things in terms of sales to be able to make sure that M-Pesa is growing within the CBD region, basically painting the town green, where you see Safaricom posters, M-Pesa shops branded green. At the time, that was my job. Further to that is I was required at that time to make sure that the CBD had enough airtime, had enough SIM-X for swapping SIM cards themselves, float. So my job was to go shop to shop M-Pesa shops to make sure they're fully stocked with Safaricom products and also ready, and they understand also the M-Pesa product. So I also had to do trainings, agent trainings. I did dealer trainings, how to become a dealer, how to run an M-Pesa shop, how to load your float, how to transfer, how to check KYC. So it was really an exciting time for me. I really felt like it gave me the foundation that I needed in terms of sales and fintech, because starting off straight from campus and you're thrown into fintech terms, compliance terms, KYC, anti-money laundering terms, as well as selling was a really fantastic foundation for me. And now that you're asking, I really want to give a shout out to the M-Pesa agents that I worked with at that time. I feel
like the agents, the ones you see here?
Yes, the shops, the green booths, the shops, the dealers, those guys. In Swahili, what I can say is walinilea, because they really were there, very supportive, in terms of making sure that, at that time we were growing the market together. They had float, we are opening new outlets in terms of M-Pesa. The dealers were really, really supportive.
So I understand, just like the law you have, that is a yellow card.
Yes.
Crypto is I don't want to say it's a new market, but it's kind of new market in Africa. People are just embracing it.
Yeah.
And it's a similar thing with M-Pesa back in the days, that is around 2012.
Yes.
So how was it for people to embrace mobile money back in the days?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm actually going through that journey all over again, because as you can see, back then, M-Pesa wasn't very popular, right? So it was just gaining popularity. It is where I was in M-Pesa when the liftoff started, the M-Pesa liftoff, meaning that's when adoption was there. We had to do a lot of education. Those days we had to do a lot of forums. We had big halls where we called people just to educate about M-Pesa. So I see a lot of similarities with digital assets, because I feel like we are back in the days when M-Pesa was starting, right? People are trying to understand digital assets. They want to know how to apply it in their daily lives. So we do as well a lot of training as Yellow Card as well, to make sure that the populace know what exactly is digital asset. How do they apply it? How can they utilize it? How can they build for it, right? Yeah. And I feel like that was a good foundation for me as well. Starting my hustle with M-Pesa and then now digital assets.
So were there any were there government regulations that is fighting mobile money back in the day, what we have that is recently in the crypto space? Okay.
So I would generally say no, because our government, the Kenyan government, has been pro-innovation quite a bit. Yeah. So at the time, what was there was a limited knowledge from the regulator side. So they were also trying to understand what M-Pesa is doing, right? How is it helping the economy? How does it help the common mwananchi, in terms of everyday buying, selling, buying of stuff, or, if you're a shopkeeper, you're selling something. Yeah. So there weren't any, in terms of blockages, in terms of regulatory stifles for M-Pesa, I would say, because Safaricom did something very incredible. It was partner with the government. Yeah. For you to succeed in a market like East Africa, you have to also be in partnership with government. Make them understand what you're building. Once they understand what you're building, they start supporting you, right? And that's what happened to Safaricom. They got a lot of support from the government. Yeah.
Interesting. So after Safaricom, I'm seeing you headed to Jumia.
Yes.
So how was it like at Jumia?
So at Jumia, my days at Jumia were really good. Reason is, I feel like those are the years when I was in Jumia. Those are the years I learned to fly. Yeah. And not only in the physical aspect of it, it's also in the mental way, because I worked internationally. It's first time I was working internationally, opening up markets for Jumia in different countries. And I had to solve for global problems, right? Because I was going international, going into new markets that I've never been to. So the dynamics were different. I had to learn culture as well, different cultures, you know, and how to negotiate with different cultures as well. So if I'm, for example, going to work in Zimbabwe, for example, where I really did a lot of work there, I had to learn the culture. How do I negotiate with a common person in Harare, in Bulawayo? How do I convince them to buy the product that I'm selling? You know, if I'm meeting a government official, the tourism board at the time, how do I make sure I connect with them? So on a global scale, I feel like it gave me such a good exposure because from that foundation, I've been able to work with other international companies, and I'm able to solve for cross-border problems, you know, work with products that are not only local but also international. Yeah.
Interesting. So while working, that is for Jumia, which country were you working from? That is, which country were you?
So I was account manager and head of telesales for the region, the whole Africa region. So I worked based in Kenya specifically, but I did open markets in Tanzania, Uganda, Zimbabwe, very big in Zimbabwe, Rwanda as well. Yeah.
So what was telesales?
So, so first and foremost, let me give you a bit of a background what happened, because when I switched to telesales, it was a strategic decision. So I started off as an account manager, and I had a team as well of junior sales executives that I was managing at the time. And what we were doing is we were going to the country, and then once we land for example, in Uganda, we start seeking out partners to partner with in Uganda, right? And we went through like that in very many countries, country to country. We formed so many partnerships at the time, which were chain hotels, big hotels that we were partnering with to be able to offer them service. Then when we realized that we've captured most of the market, right? We've captured like 60% of the businesses that we wanted to onboard. It became scattered a bit in terms of, if I was to go to Uganda, I'd only go visit maybe 2 hotels. Then I'll have to fly to Zimbabwe, go visit 2 hotels, because we've already gotten contracts with most of the hotels. So enter telesales. So we realized it's very expensive. For us to even sign up 10 hotels, we literally had to fly to different locations, which was very expensive. So enter telesales. So telesales was now, how do we bring in the few left in a cost-effective way and in using just telephone, because we had already visited them at some point, and maybe they did not close on time. So going back was expensive. So as a strategic decision as a department, we decided telesales is the way to go, and we had a team of telesales sales executives. Yes.
Or telesales, that is telephone.
Yes.
Oh, I get it now.
Yes, telephone.
The experience that is you got from working for Jumia, that is an e-commerce. Yes. How do you feel like, you know, considering at the moment you're working for a fintech company?
Yes.
Like, how does e-commerce and fintech in Kenya or in East Africa come together, like, you know, to make the whole industry easier? Do they complement like each other?
Okay, so they are almost sort of exist in the same space, because if you think about it, e-commerce and digital assets all are on the digital space, right? So some of the skills that I did gain doing, you know, e-commerce platforms like Jumia, I've been able to transfer them to where I am right now at Yellow Card, where we do a lot of digital marketing, we do a lot of digital contacting. You know, if it's cold calling as well, we do a lot of that. We apply some of those skills. Yeah.
Interesting. So I'm seeing here on your LinkedIn that is after Jumia.
Yeah.
There was a place you worked at, case processing assistant at Chatwell service. I don't know. What was that about?
Yeah, so again, you see, careers sometimes are not as we predict, right? It's not very straightforward. So at that time, and I had just had my son, and I had taken a break because I had a difficult pregnancy. And when I was looking for a job next, I landed a job at a resettlement support center, which is a US-sponsored program under the Church World Service. So I worked there for 8 months. It was very brief because I felt like I'm not where I want to be.
Was it something related to fintech or digital
No,
assets?
it was not. It was not. It was actually NGO, non-profit organization, resettling refugees to the US. So refugees in Kakuma, refugees in any other parts of East Africa, we were assisting them to be resettled under the US government program to be resettled to the US. It was nice. It had a good impact because I felt like I was touching lives, because I actually was opening files of people, real lives of people with kids. I'm seeing files with children and the struggles and all that, and actually helping them through the journey of resettlement and refugee camps, and having them on stateside US, settling there and able to start a new life. I still very happy about my decision to take that service for 8 months. However, I left very early because I felt my calling is in the corporate world. I felt like that's where I had the most impact. And I actively did seek out opportunities in the corporate world and in fintech specifically.
So how did you get to the next role after that is working at Chatwell?
Yes, so I did have a friend of mine back in the day who was working for Direct Pay Online, right? So Direct Pay Online is a fintech company, or one of the biggest fintech companies in Africa. So I had a conversation with her, and she told me, I've worked with you before. You're an excellent, business salesperson. We have an opportunity. Could you please try and apply? So I did an application, just a random application via link. That time they're hiring through a recruitment agency. I did go through the steps, a very tough recruitment agency, I must say. And I went through all the steps. Then I went to meet the Direct Pay Online executives, which was the CEO and also the head of sales at the time. And I passed the interview. They did like me, and they took me on as the Kenya sales representative. And that's how I started my journey in, again, I went back to fintech.
Fintech?
Yes.
So how was it like, at that is Direct Pay Online? And how can you describe the company? Because I don't know most people know about it, or what do they do?
Okay. So Direct Pay Online, they're a payment service provider. So they offer fintech services to merchants, right? So if you are a restaurant, like any restaurant you may think about, or a shop, then, and you need, payment services, they're able to give you that in terms of a machine, if you are to swipe cards, mobile money, how to collect mobile money payments, that sort of a thing. So it was more of a merchant service. And my role there was to basically approach the merchants and have them sign up through contracting, again, negotiation and contracting, to help them understand the products that we're offering. And that was my, day-to-day. But I really loved it because I felt like I was in my element once again. Yeah.
So your role was basically, that is, being on the ground, like,
Yes, exactly. So I was on the ground, as you've said, meeting executives of companies, for example, Kenya Airways. So Kenya Airways or Rwanda Airways, which actually also uses Direct Pay Online, and meeting such executives and helping them understand what we can offer them, right, in terms of payment provision. How do people pay for for their ticket? It can be also like a chemist. Some of the chemists that are around as well, they use Direct Pay Online. You're able to swipe your card very, very easily, and yeah. So those are the services that Direct Pay Online did offer.
So when you're working on such a role, are you given maybe a number of things, or maybe a number of people you need to onboard, like as a sales representative?
Absolutely. So as a salesperson, the first thing any salesperson will tell you is my numbers. Well, it's just numbers in the head. How many did I do today? So we were always on the run. So like in a day, I had a route that I needed to do. There are places where I would identify there are big hotels that we wanted to partner with, big companies, security firms, things like that. So just going in and making sure that I hit my numbers. That was my hustle of the day. How many people have I met? How many people have I talked to? How many people have I added into the sales pipe, right? So, because at the end of the month, the report that I need to give to my supervisor is, I was able to close X number, I was able to meet these people, and these are currently in progress. So it's all numbers when it comes to sales.
So the next role, you are working for Pesapal.
Yes, so it's an interesting switch. So when I was working for Direct Pay Online, I was approached by Pesapal.
So you are poached.
Yes, let me say that. I was poached by Pesapal. So I met the executive director at the time, and he did actively pursue to hire me, and I met him, and our visions aligned immediately, because you see, what I was doing at Direct Pay Online, I was a salesperson. Yeah. I had numbers, right? I had to just go bring in numbers, make sure I hit those targets. I was hitting my targets at the time, but I felt like I could do more. I felt like I could influence the product more, and I felt like at DPO I wasn't being given that chance, right? So if it's about the services that we're offering, the digital services that we're offering in terms of payment, I did feel like there are some parts that I could bring more value in terms of strategic planning for those products, the vision, the innovation of it, and I felt I was limited away at DPO. And when that opportunity came with Pesapal, and my vision and the execs at Pesapal's vision aligned, I took it without thinking, because for me at the time, I really wanted to take off in my career. I wanted to influence decisions. I wanted to start my leadership journey, and that meant I'm actually actively participating at an impact level, right? Rather than just being a soldier, just a soldier. So I wanted to move from a soldier to a commander.
To a commander.
Yes, and that's why I made that change.
So how was your day-to-day like at Pesapal? Like, what would you do on a daily basis?
So I really enjoyed my time at Pesapal, because the products that Pesapal does build, and shout out to Agosta Liko, is he really solves problems. You just don't build, that's him. He solves a problem, right? So, and I love being part of that. So if, for example, I go into an establishment like a restaurant, and I notice, yes, they need to swipe cards to be able to receive payment from their customers, but what else? That's a question we had at Pesapal. What else does that person need that we can provide? What else can we build for the customer, right? Because we were not just chasing the customer just because they to get swipes or that, or just payments in and out, but we wanted to create value. We wanted that stickiness from the customer, right? And I loved that. I lived for that on a daily basis. So I would go in, get very varied, comments from, managers, for example, in a restaurant. Oh, how do I manage my inventory? Not inventory, but how do I manage the procurement process of how do I manage my store? How do I make sure that I'm not going into a loss? How do I make sure that I get, for example, bookings? How do I manage bookings? Reservations? How do I manage all that? And that's a layer that we seek to add on top of the finance or the fintech solution that we are providing. So we added something on top, like reservation management systems or store management system, Duka management systems. And these were things that are really exciting, because it does open your mind to different problems, who you're solving for, who you're selling to. These are all different angles of things that you need to look at as you're building. So I felt like at Pesapal I was involved in those decisions, in building the product. They were really open to new ideas. We came up with very many ideas at the time. Some were implemented, some were not, but overall I applied myself in very many ways.
So what was the main product Pesapal was offering at the time?
So Pesapal again is a payment service provider. So they provide payment solutions, right, for businesses and merchants. So if you're a shop somewhere and or a supermarket and you're wondering, how do I make it easy for customers to pay? How do I make it easy for, if I have an online shop, an e-commerce shop, how do I make it easy for like a checkout process in terms of payment? They also provide that solution for you. So they're mainly a payment service provider, but I would give them a plus because they don't only solve the payment solutions bit, but they also solve your problems on your day-to-day problems for managing your operations and making it a bit easier. Yeah.
So they are much more focused on the business side of that is the B2B.
They are B2B. They provide B2B solutions, yes.
And the company before that is Direct Pay Online was much more
similar.
B2B.
Yes, B2B solutions as well.
So how was it like, moving from a B2B kind of business to now at Yellow Card, which is much more client-based or user-focused?
Yeah, it's a bit different, but not so much. Yeah, because as much as Yellow Card is very retail in terms of their offering, they also can offer service to businesses, right, who need it. So it's different in a way. I think it's a bit exciting because the kind of people I'm meeting on a daily basis at Yellow Card is slightly different, right? Because when you're meeting a business, you're solving at a business level, problems at a business level. So, if it's the finance, the reporting side, how do I reconcile? How do I monitor payments in and out? How do I call the customer to confirm something? So we help business problems. But here now it's a bit varied because we have a bit of business issues to solve and partnerships, but it's mostly retail. And it's I would say it's different but exciting. That's the best way I can put it. But at the level of a regional manager, I would say we're still solving a lot of business problems within ourselves as well, and providing solutions to be able to grow this market, right? So some of the skills from the business B2B side and how we solved those at a business level, we're also solving for ourselves, and we're also looking for B2B partners who are able to help us add value to what we already have. So on the retail side, just to summarize, has been more of a learning curve for me, right? Just to be very frank, it has been more of a learning curve, how to interact on the mass level, right? If you're doing an event, how do I solve for you individually, right? How do you gain value from the product as you, as an individual? Those are some of the things that I've now come to develop and acquire those skills as I'm moving with the Yellow Card.
Interesting. Just to go back, I understand that is your CV is quite impressive. So maybe getting the role, si gumu sana ka maybe any other person, but how did you land the role?
For Yellow Card?
Yeah.
Okay. So Yellow Card again, I was approached by a recruiter. I was headhunted by a recruiter and told me, we're interested in your skills and we'd like to talk more. And at the time, blockchain was really new in my head. I was trying to wrap my head around it. And it sounded very interesting for me. I knew it. I had some thought about it. I'd read about it, but I didn't know it in detail. But what the problems that they were trying to, or the solutions that they were bringing in the market were quite fintech facing, right? So I saw that my skills were really transferable to this new role as a regional manager. And then again, pursuing my vision of creating impact at a deeper level. Remember what we spoke about, the product level, influencing strategy, influencing decisions. And when this regional manager role came, it was a perfect alignment as well. Yeah.
Interesting. So the the blockchain space or the crypto space, like, building that is a company that is especially a fintech has not been easy for most companies.
Yeah.
So as Yellow Card, how has it been for you?
When it comes to blockchain and the ecosystem surrounding blockchain, be it compliance and regulatory, be it banking, be it marketing and all. So it has had its challenges. Thing about blockchain and cryptocurrency is there's always a new problem every day. There's always something you're solving for. And one of our biggest successes, I would say, has been the partnerships that we've formed, especially with government. As I had mentioned, it's very important to be in line with government, especially when it involves a fintech, a financial products that are really highly regulated, products that are really calls for a lot of compliance. It's good to be very close to the government, work with them, help them, as we are doing at Yellow Card, understand what blockchain is, what crypto is, how can they regulate cryptocurrency. So it has been a lot of schooling of government, and that has helped us be in good books, because we do strive to actually make them understand what digital assets is all about. Further to that, compliance has also been a very big deal for us. So we've tried as much as possible to be as compliant with not only global standards but also local regulatory standards as well.
Actually, what about users onboarding? Like, which are one of the strategies that you guys are using?
We've gone local, right? We are creating local solutions, local ways of receiving and paying out. So for you to feel like it's solving your need, right? And I feel like that has been our biggest impact, because even across the region, we do innovate locally for the local market, even including using local languages like Rwanda, Swahili, to be able to reach more people. I would say something else that has been the backbone of our success is we refuse to let go of, or we refuse to give up on our mission of financial inclusion for all. We are stubborn about it. So if you don't know about blockchain, we'll educate you. So we've done university tours where we go from school to school, teaching young people about blockchain, teaching them how to build even their own products on blockchain technology, what it actually solves in everyday life. So in summary, we refuse to give up on our mission, which is financial inclusion, and also education in terms of crypto education and blockchain education for everyone across the African continent. Lastly, I would say is partnerships. As I've mentioned, it's very important to have partners. There are people who've solved or have tried to solve the problem that you're also trying to solve, right? Somebody said there's nothing new under the sun. So always look for partners, like-minded people who have solved something like what you've solved, or offer solutions to what you're currently looking to solve. So government is one of them, right? Regulatory bodies solve a huge problem. They create, that sense of stability and security and safety when they endorse something, right? And they understand it. So that's one. Then we have other, corporate partners that we can partner with on a daily basis to enhance, and that has been our backbone and our key reasons why we've had so much success in Africa.
So, do you think in East Africa, we get to a level where people adopt that is crypto to a point where you can go to a government institution and actually pay for a service via crypto?
I mean, we are looking forward to it. Anything is possible. Look at M-Pesa. Right? It's a form of digital payment. I mean, digital, what can we call it? Payment, right? Long back, all government services used to receive cash only, or check, or bank slip, right? So it was those manual processes. So M-Pesa had to break that barrier, right? And they did it. They're offering a digital services to government. And it is now the preferred way of making payment in government. Yeah. So look at that, 360 turnaround. So we also envision a time when digital assets will be part and parcel of the traditional finance. So it will be also maybe commonplace. And we foresee it in future whereby digital assets is also an option of payment. Yeah.
Interesting. So as yellow card, does that mean that is you are the main headquarters or the main office for the East African region is based in Kenya?
So this is our biggest, where we have our most employees.
That is in Kenya?
In Kenya. We have more than 45 employees in Kenya. So we don't per se say it's the regional headquarter because we do give importance to all our markets. Rwanda market is very important to us. Uganda is also very important to us. And we do not assign any importance to a single market. So we all are treated the same as very important, and all are at the headquarter level in terms of importance. Yeah.
So when you're hiring for like developers,
yes.
So how do you go about it? Like, and what do you look for, and how do they even work? Do they work remotely, or do they have to come up in an office?
Okay, so we do have a physical location here in Nairobi where anyone from the company who works, an employee of the company, can work from that location, including developers. So we are remote first, yes. So most of us have offices from home. We work from home. But we also have a physical location, a central location where everybody can come and we can work together once or twice or 3 times in a month, right? And they're free to come in at any time in the week as well. For developers, we do have a special hiring team that does hiring for developers because they check for different competencies in terms of what language we are using to build our products. Do they understand that language? Culture fit as well is very important. We take very big we have a very big importance on ownership as well. We want developers who come to build as if you're building for yourself, right? So you must have that entrepreneurial spirit within you to come in and also try and craft for the customer, solve for the customer, right? We also, we are very data-driven people. So we also want, we hire across the board anybody who has that, who's data-driven, who can read data, interpret, and help create and help in the decision making and steering of the company. So everybody in the company as well is a boss. Each and every person at every level is a boss, right? And we make decisions at our boss levels, right? For example, for me here in East Africa, I'm also a boss in East Africa, so I make decisions, and my CEO, who is Chris Maurice, has allowed me to make such decisions, and everybody else, including developers. And then we craft for the customer. So we want developers who come in, identify problems, are quick to solve for the customer. We don't want systems are down for hours or things like that. So we do want, we are very fast-paced as well, and we hire for agility as well. Yeah.
So let me ask for maybe in this case, maybe a developer is not, he or she is not working in your company.
Yes.
And maybe they identify a problem and they have a solution for it. Mm-hmm. Can you give them a job based on that?
Well, yes and no. And I'm not sure if I should be speaking on behalf of our CTO, who's also our co-founder, Justin Poro. He's the head of the tech side of things. We do have opportunities, and especially of late, we've been hiring quite a lot. Yeah. So I would say once you're given that opportunity to interview, give it your best shot. Yeah. Yes, because we also are very engaging in our interviews. We also ask you such questions, like if you're to change one thing or you're to innovate one thing within yellow card, what would it be, and you were given a chance to actually showcase your skills. So I would say yes, because we have opportunities within the company, which actually we've been hiring quite aggressively in the last 1 year or so, and showcase your skill during the interview. If you feel like you have that special project that you think would help Yellow Card, feel free to go to our careers page and leave a comment, or just reach out to the email over there.
What advice would you give to maybe builders or people who are looking for opportunities that is in the tech space?
So knowledge first, right? Get the right knowledge. What are you building? Who are you building for? Try and assess all that. And then also partnerships, as I've mentioned, very important. And what do you want to ship into the market, right? Who can you partner with to make your vision move faster, right? And also I would say impact, yeah? So we have so many tech products that are delivered into the market on a daily basis, but they die shortly after, they're short-lived. And my boss usually says there's a graveyard of tech products, because people are not looking at how will this impact the person I'm trying to solve for. So if you're creating a fintech product, for example, who are you creating that fintech product for? Because within your buyers, there are different personas. Are you building for the accountant? Are you building for the CEO? Are you building for the CFO? Are you building for marketing? Are you building for customer service? You have to go to that granular level who you're building for. So even if it is an individual like you, Fidecio, if I'm building for a tech product for Fidecio, what am I solving for Fidecio? Does he have a smartphone? How does he access internet? Where is he located? Go granular so that you're able to actually, get that problem you're trying to solve, so that it is very impactful and you get that stickiness from the customer. So if you're just building just any other product, there's a graveyard full of them, and make sure you do your knowledge, do your homework right. Get that knowledge about what you're building. If it's technical skills, expertise, it's those languages that they're using, and what else, right? Get that first. Then for me, I'm from the business side. Who are you building for? I've met so many people who are in the networking systems. I'm building this product, it's supposed to solve this. But when I'm like, okay, have you thought it through? Because I feel like there's a company that did this, and they're here, right? Is this where you want to be? Have you thought it out 360 to who you're selling it to? So there's a lot to learn, and I would say one of the biggest impacts I've seen in how to build a good product is networking. Yeah, networking. So being spaces where there are other builders as well. We have so many networking events in Kenya, especially for tech and especially for fintech. So go to those networks. Learn what is the other person, what problems is the other person solving? How did they apply a solution? How can you apply? How can you innovate? Okay, they are coming with this angle. How can you come with the other angle, right? So networking is the biggest thing that I would advise any founder, anybody who's thinking of creating a new product. Make sure you have your networks, because eventually your networks help you shape your product, and they become your partners at some point. Yeah.
Asante sana for creating the time.
Thank you.
And for the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.